And just to kind of illustrate how everyone is waking up, at this point, everyone is coming to terms with the nature of AOC in specific, but really the Justice Democrats at large and that whole model.
Because they all followed her lead.
Yeah, exactly. But to illustrate that, I thought it would be interesting to play a clip from a recent episode of Kyle, Krystal, and Friends, the podcast hosted by Kyle Kulinski and Krystal Ball. It was the episode in which they were talking to Professor Richard Wolff. But before they talked to him, they got into the 2024 potential crop of Democrats, who could potentially run and who could potentially take the mantle of kind of the progressive that I was talking about to challenge Harris and Biden and to kind of mount that resistance. And obviously AOC came up, who hilariously is polling at 2% in the polls for 2024, which I think is indicative of the fact that people, by the way, AOC, actually like it when you put up a fight and like it when you resist the establishment. They don't want to see you capitulate. That's actually not popular. So why do you think your popularity has been plummeting? Put 2 and 2 together. How stupid are you? But anyway, the point is that they're talking about this.
So I see nobody I can even tolerate. I don't see Yang. I don't see Ellison.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody that I
next
like even to a little bit.
Next you get into like the progressives. Next is Warren at 3%. Bernie at 2%. I mean, Bernie's it's over. I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
It's sad, but it is what it is. What are you going to do?
And then AOC at 2%. So there you go.
By the way, look, shame on her for plummeting to 2%, blowing all of the, name recognition. She had potential. Had. Stress had.
2% is really pathetic.
It is.
For someone who is... I mean,
it's 70 zillion Twitter followers and all this media and
everyone in the country knows who she is. Everyone in the country knows who she is. And look, it's partly not her fault because she, Fox News and the right decided to demonize her. Democratic establishment decided to throw her under the bus is like the emblem of what we can never do if we want to get elected. But part of it is also, I think, she's kind of played into that caricature. And
I haven't seen her lean into the right issues more than once or twice in her entire time in office.
Yeah.
All the ones where she gets aggressive and she leans in are all fringe stuff that does not appeal to the majority of Americans.
I mean, look, and I agree with her on virtually every issue, but yeah, that she likes to lean into the things that are edgy.
Not popular, right, exactly. Yeah. Good job, you're a fucking politician.
The brand is to be about the things that aren't popular. I mean, that's kind of the brand she's created.
Right. And by the way, I'll say, I defended AOC back in the day when she was super hardcore, abolish ICE, and when she was talking about defund the police and stuff. Even though those aren't necessarily majoritarian issues yet, someone has to popularize and explain them. So, I defended her for repping.
She's not even really fighting for those things.
That's what I'm saying. What's maddening is that now she can't even have any consistency when there's a Democrat in office. She can't even talk about abolishing ICE. ICE still fucking exists. Why aren't you talking about abolishing it? Why aren't you talking about defund the police? We literally have 2 of the most, sympathetic motherfuckers in the White House right now to the police state.
The top cop of California and the architect of the crime bill.
Yeah, exactly. How the issue is not even necessarily that she's taken on unpopular issues, because I have respect for people that champion issues that they feel strongly about, and again try to elevate causes that may not already be in the mainstream. But to do that and then to change your tune as soon as you clearly want access to more power and you want more brownie points from the liberal establishment which surrounds you, that lack of consistency is what I truly find infuriating. But they are correct, too, that with that name recognition and with that popularity and celebrity, she really could have used it to further and be fierce on a lot more issues that were also more majoritarian, more populist, issues that she wouldn't have had to put in so much work to try to explain.
Like Medicare for all.
Exactly, like fucking Medicare for all, which again, the crisis is not over. Just because Bernie Sanders lost the presidency doesn't mean we all go home.
Everybody gave up. Everybody that was elected gave up. They were we don't give a fuck about any of this anymore. This is on the back burner. All we can do is build our careers up essentially for 4 more fucking years. What the fuck is the point of doing that? Well, people need this shit yesterday. We needed this 10 fucking 20 years ago, guys. This country is fucking a mess. We don't have 20 years. The earth doesn't have 20 more fucking years, guys. This is absurd. We need the urgency that she used to have, and she clearly sold it out. She sold her urgency for fucking fake power, for the horseshit fucking pacification and get in a committee seat, keep making in the bread, like keep getting a bunch of people send you heart emojis when you go live on Insta, like okay, live in that world and don't get anything fucking done. I mean, it's pathetic, but that's what we're looking at.
Yep. And another issue that this reminds me of was when, around the same time as Force the Vote, she put out that tweet afterwards in regards to impeaching Trump, where she basically explained the logic about why, people needed to take a bold stand. And even if it was all for naught, it was important to have that record. And it's like, what is going on? Why are you more focused on this issue, which clearly is not going to result in anything meaningful or tangible, instead of exerting that same kind of energy and pressure towards something that is achievable, that does have an end goal? And by the way, that end goal is literally saving people's lives, not just fucking scoring brownie points and virtue signaling about how anti-Trump you are, when you're not even talking about the real solution to the issue, which was to, I believe it was invoking the 14th Amendment to prevent him from even running again, which would have only taken 50 votes, not 60. So, it was a dumb waste of time. Everyone knew it. She went right along with that. I mean, she never said anything about that. So I think that's a perfect example of what they're talking about. Obviously following January 6th, people were not fond of Donald Trump, but, it's telling that that's impeaching Trump was the cause that she jumped on to put her fire behind. Because
corporations aren't going to fucking get mad at her about it. Nancy Pelosi wasn't going to get mad at her about it. They were going to cheerlead her for that. They were going to amplify her for that. And it didn't cost her anything. And that's the thing. She doesn't want to spend any kind of political capital that's going to disrupt the mama bear.
Exactly. And it also, while we're calling people out, I will say I've been very disappointed in someone who just a few months ago I was singing the praises of and talking about how inspired I was. Cori Bush, she came into Congress saying, I'm going to get there and I'm going to start fighting for recurring checks, not just recurring checks, but retroactive checks. Where's the fire been on that, man? From what I've seen for Cori Bush so far is that she was really intent on getting Marjorie Taylor Greene out of office and Josh Hawley, which, I mean, I agreed with, honestly. I thought that what they did was beyond the pale and it was worthy of expulsion. But again, like, she put a lot more fight into that. She raised a lot more of a ruckus on that issue than she ever did checks or Medicare or even the Green New Deal, which she supposedly just reintroduced with AOC to no fanfare, no press, no protests. It's not like they organized a adjacent protest in DC to help bring attention to the issue. No, they just quietly introduced this bill so it can die. I mean, what's the point of that? It's not activism. It's just a charade.
Yeah, and that's what sucks, and that does hurt a little bit because obviously, we had a lot of hope going in for a lot of this. I mean, we don't want to, get ahead, put the cart before the horse, sure. But we've both talked behind the scenes about how neither of us have been particularly moved by the rhetoric that's been coming from the Nina Turner campaign for, in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it is the fact that when people start running for Congress, they start to pacify themselves. They start to try and play the game. They try and do all this kind of thing. And when you have a background like somebody like Nina Turner does of being a fiery, impassioned orator, of somebody who's going to call a spade, of somebody who's going to, torch somebody if they deserve to be torched, etc. Right. You start to feel a little less authentic when you kind of tone yourself down, when you stop giving people fire, right? Like, if one day you guys turn on the Vanguard and I'm sitting here in like a suit and tie and I'm never getting moved or upset about anything, you're just like, something is fucking wrong, dude. You don't give a shit about this anymore. You're not like being yourself. You're not like being authentic anymore. That's what you think. Like when Gavin and I have reactions on this shit, it's because it's what the fuck we actually think and feel. And if we were to like do a 180 from that one day, people have followed us for a long time would be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This is a change. And the same thing is true for politicians, right? And when they change their tune, when they change their level of fieriness or whatever, when they pacify themselves, essentially, it's telling and it's a bummer. And I think it's indicative of what might be to come. So I'm not saying like, if you're in her district, don't vote for her because it's certainly probably better than whatever fuck she's running against. I haven't paid close attention to that race. Honestly, we're still a ways out, but I mean,